He's been there going on 13 years now. He has a background in business. He has a background working. He was youth minister in one of the east side in Duncan, Oklahoma for many years. So he has a strong history working with kids. And he has developed some pretty good programs along with the staff that he has under him, and we'll review some of those as we go along. John Moore's been there 17 years. His background is he was a pulpit minister for a while, and he also worked in law enforcement as a chaplain for several different police departments when he made the transition down here. He's our director of social services. He's the one that writes our plan of cares for our boys. He's the one that helps me and him coordinate on admissions, bringing new boys in. We also coordinate on dealing with educational issues and so on and so forth. And he oversees a lot of our training for our staff and puts together that training. My wife and I'm the campus manager. My wife is the voice you hear. She's the one that answers the phone, the first voice you hear. She keeps up our files, keeps them in order, and keeps staff files in order, and she sets doctor's appointments, and she takes care of the boys' accounts that they have in place for them when they check out and check in money. She does that. My duties, I do admissions. I deal with disciplinary issues. I work pretty close with the school, and I do training as well. I'm a certified child care trainer. All our staff is certified child care workers in the state of Oklahoma. So I do that training as well. Sue Moore, which is John Moore's wife, she's been there 17 years. She's our accountant. She deals with payroll. She deals with our day-to-day finances. She works with the auditors at the end of the year when we have our audits done. Denise Gonzalez is our donor relations. She is the one that takes everything that comes in and she puts it into our system, and she sends out all the thank yous and makes sure we get all our thank yous out. She's the one that monitors all that for us. Doug Gonzalez is our farm manager. They've been there 12 years. They did about 5 years as house parents. Doug was a boy at the home. He come there, I think, about 8 or 9 years old, and he graduated from high school. And he came back to give back to the home and to help boys, which he has a very unique insight, and the boys do tend to gravitate to him because he has a strong understanding of where they're at and what they've been through. All of you know Burl Butler. Burl's our director. He's our director of church relations. He used to be our run the truck route and stuff. He's retired from that. It's a little more than he can physically handle anymore, so he's on the road a little more, traveling and visiting churches. And he's got so many that some of us are stepping up and helping him, which is why I'm here visiting with y'all. This year was his 45th year with us. He's been at the home since 1967. He was a house parent at Sweetwater for 10 years, and then he's done the farm manager position, and he's just kind of been all over the place. But he's been in this role for quite a while. I'm not sure how long it has been. Kathy Coley is our commissary manager. She's the one that takes all those groceries y'all give us and sorts through them and puts them on the shelf. She's the one that does the shopping for us. For the house parents, they turn in their grocery orders. She goes, buys what we buy, and then she takes what they need off the shelves, sacks it, and all they got to do is come load it up and take it home. She also puts together, every year we do an appreciation dinner for lunch for the teachers at the beginning of the school year, because our boys are challenges, so we really appreciate what they do. So we fix them lunch during their training, and she oversees that. And other dinners that we put together. This is Josh and Julia Burney. They're our caregivers at Overstreet. They've been with us. They're working on 6 years. Josh has a history in missions. He grew up in it. His dad was a missionary in Scotland most of his life. I think he was in 9th grade when they moved back to the States. His dad got sick. His dad died of Lou Gehrig's disease when he was 13 years old. And that kind of put him into a tailspin. So he's made some poor choices in his life as a young person. And we have a lot of guys that he relates to because of some of the choices he's made. He's also done some youth ministry work as well. and he has a history in business. He run 2 McDonald's in Nashville, Tennessee for about 4 years. He was the manager of 2 stores before he came to us. And Julia, she has a history in mission. She was raised in the church. They were both raised in the church. But she did a year in Japan as an Ames student, doing missions through the Ames program. So then she's also working on getting her teacher's certificate for when they decide they're going to do something different. Right now, the good Lord hadn't opened any doors for them, so they feel like this is where they need to be. The big family is Jason and Misty. When they came to us, they had 3 children, and they decided to have a 4th, and God blessed them with twins. So they have 5 kids. Their youngest ones are right at 2.5 years old. Jason he's got about 13 years in youth ministry. He's got a master's in ministry through Harding. Misty has a bachelor's of psychology through Harding, and she's working on her master's in education right now. They've both done a lot of mission work themselves, been to Honduras and Brazil and different countries and done mission work, so they have very mission-minded. Jason also has a pretty rough childhood. He was raised in the church, but his relationship with his dad wasn't real good. So he has a pretty extensive history that he draws on when he works with our boys. The other couple is Kevin and Frankie Mangus. They're at Sweetwater. They've been with us. They're working on their 3rd year. Jason and Misty have been with us almost 6. About as long as I have. They come about the same time I did. But the Manguses have been with us. They worked at Lubbock Children's Home for a year, and then they come to work for us, and they've been with us for almost 2 years. Kevin has a life of hard knocks. I mean, he's told me some of the things that's happened while he was growing up, and I don't know if I could have been where he's at today with some of the stuff he's dealt with. But he has got a very good relationship with his boy. He's an outdoorsman. He likes to do a lot of outdoor stuff. He also, that's our calf house. Those boys raise calves to show. So he works pretty good. He's in that area. So they do a lot of outdoor stuff. There's a lot of male bonding in that house that's unique to those guys. And Frankie has a history in business. She's got a business major, and she did hotel management for a while, and then she decided this is the direction they wanted to go, and doing a wonderful job for us. Ryan and Monica are from the Tulsa area. She worked for Paragould. She's a master level social worker. Ryan's got a degree in business. They actually have 2 children. They haven't given me a new picture, and they have another one on the way. They just told us last month that they're fixing to have their 3rd child. They have a unique background that really fits what we do. Even though she's a social worker, she's a very astute mother. The strong motherly figure is what we have in that house, and we tend to bring boys that direction. Ryan has an outdoor relationship with the guys, but that house's dynamics is kind of different. The boys gravitate more to the house mom and talk more about their intimate issues with her, with Ryan there, but they communicate better. It's just kind of unique dynamics, which works very well for their house. Tony Chitwood, he has been in child care. He is also an alumni. He grew up there. He was about 12 years old when Doug graduated from high school. So him and Doug have a relationship, kind of a brother relationship. Doug kind of protected him when he was little. Tony has been doing child care he's got almost 16 years in child care. He went through some trouble in his family, and his family kind of fell apart. And we brought him back as a single mentor for our young transitional guys, and I'll explain more about what our transitional is. And he's doing a phenomenal job for us. He has what I call him is his backyard philosophy about things. He can talk to boys about things. He can take a boy that is just, his temper's out of control, and he can stand there and talk to him for just a few minutes, and he's brought him back down where he can communicate with him. He's got a really good talent for taking care of troubled, big issues. Staff training, we do Kentucky curriculum, which is through Oklahoma Care. That is what we have. It's a 24-hour training, 24 hours of training that we have to do to become certified in the state of Oklahoma. Trust-based rational intervention, relational intervention is one of the things that I train, and it was developed at TCU, Texas Christian University, by Dr. Karen Purvis and David Cross. The book Connected Child, The Connected Child is a book they wrote, which is, some of it's based on this training. It is dealing with traumatized kids. They started out working with adopted children, but there's a lot of stuff on how to deal with, what it goes back to is, first 3 years of a child's life is the brain development time. If there's trauma during that time, it interrupts development of the brain, which causes a chemical imbalance in the brain, which causes some of the synapses not to develop right. So that's when we have kids that live in the fight, flight, or fright mode, freeze mode all the time. And that's what we deal with on a daily basis. These guys that live in fear all the time that something's going to happen. So that's training we use to help them bring that down and start rebuilding some of those synapses where they can function in a normal environment. First aid and CPR they have to be trained in. We also developed our own covenant of hospitality. And basically what that is, we have a document hanging on our wall that tells everybody that comes in there that we're going to be hospitable to you. You're going to be welcomed into our home. You're going to be welcomed on our campus. We'll feed you. We'll do everything we need to do to make you feel welcome there. And then if we do have to dismiss or somebody does leave, we try to be hospitable and the sending off as well. So it's been very effective for us. Programs we have in place is behavior management, counseling, educational, livestock programs, social activities, spiritual and transitional, and our work programs. The behavior management system is the cottage base. That's what our cottages operate on a day-to-day basis. This is what they use. It's consistent expectations. So when they come into a house, we expect them to make their bed, we expect them to clean up after themselves, we expect them to do their chores, and we teach them how to do that. So it's expected. We have a structured living environment. There's certain rules that they have to follow. We're super structured, more structured than normal families are. And then they have the responsibilities that are assigned to them. So if you've got bathrooms for that morning, it's your responsibility to see to it that it gets done and gets taken care of. And we coach and train. The ethical principles under our behavior management program, we have a daily sheet that we fill out on them. We score them on these. And these 5 criteria is what these principles are what is our program's built on. And it's built on respect for God, respect for others, respect for self, respect for property, and respect for nature. And under those, we have a full 10 criteria that we score them from 0 to 10. They can make 100 points in a day. And I'll explain a little bit more on the levels. That's how that works with our levels. But respect for God. In the state of Oklahoma as well, in Texas, I've worked in Texas as well, they don't allow us to push to how the state puts it. We can't push religion on them. Okay? When they come into the home, when we sign a boy into our program, it's in our agreement. It says, okay, we do go to church, and as a supervision issue, you have to go with us. Now, if they refuse to do that, then we won't take them, because we're not going to leave a kid at home and a staff member at home, because the staff member needs that time himself. So if a parent agrees, so all we expect from the child is to be respectful. That means they go in and sit down and worship. If they don't want to participate, they be quiet and they allow everybody else to worship and not interrupt worship. Respect other people's beliefs, respect other people's religion, and we do the same thing for them. On average, a boy's been with us maybe 3 weeks. They're already asking questions. Something's been said in Bible class or something's been said in church, and they come in. As soon as they ask a question, the state's out of the picture. we can sit down and we can start studying with them, we can start working with them, and we can start doing this. Respect for others basically is showing other people respect, their teachers respect. We try to teach them how to do that because they come in, they don't know how to do that. They lived in an environment of disrespect because mother and dad didn't respect each other, or mom and dad didn't respect them, or they didn't respect the people around them. So we've had to develop that. A lot of them don't know how to respect themselves, don't know how to take a shower properly. It'd be amazing how many 15-year-old boys we bring in that we have to teach them how to take a shower. We have to teach them how to brush their teeth. We have to teach all the things that y'all learn when we all learned as we grown up. So those are things that we score them on it. We they get a low score if they didn't take a shower and wash right. Respect for property, we try to teach them to respect the things they have, respect what the home is providing for them, respect what y'all are providing for them, and respect their personal stuff and the boys' stuff around them. Is some of the things that we work on. And respect for nature is we want them to be ecologically knowledgeable when they leave. Turn your light off, clean your yard up, let's throw our trash away, and we do some recycling and different things like that. But if they get low scores if they leave their bedroom light on and go off to school, or if they leave the bathroom light off when they come in, or they turn the water on full blast and stand there and do all this stuff and not turn it off. So we try to work on all that. The levels is where we work on that's where the behavior management, that's where our daily progress sheet comes in. They get rewards for improvement in behavior, social skills, and ethical decisions. So basically what it is, when a young man comes into our program, he's a level 1. And then he has a goal sheet that we give him that's got 7 goals on it that he has to achieve to move to level 2. And one of the first goals we give him is a check sheet for the first week. And it's basically talking about respect for God. Respect. Did you respect God today? Yes or no? Did you respect others today? Yes or no? There's like 25 deals that they have to answer yes or no to. When they complete that in the first week, that's their first goal they've completed. We expect them, their second goal is to write a history about themselves. What happened and where they're at and what happened to bring them to us to be at our care. And that's a page to 2 pages long. And we read that and we go over it with them. And then that's their second goal. Their third goal is they have to write a letter to a significant other. And a lot of times that's to a grandparent that's passed away, or a mom that's passed away, or somebody they've hurt. We have one young man that burned somebody's house down. He wrote them apology letter. And we mailed it for him. We didn't read it. He told us what it was, but we don't read those. Those we'll seal them in an envelope, we'll mail them for them, or we'll put them in their file if they don't want them mailed. And later on they say, well, I think we need to go ahead and mail that letter. And we do that. And then they have to do interview process with some of the staff to get their goals and so on and so forth. And they promote to level 2. And to get they have to get scores. And like I said, we kind of score like the ABCD, like you do in school. A 59 and below is a 1. A 60 to 69 is a level 2, and so on and so forth. So if they're pulling those scores, they can get level 3 privileges or level 4 privileges at their house if they're pulling the right scores. I brought a handbook with me if somebody wants to see it, but the handbook is what we give them. It's got everything in black and white that they need to know to be able to function. It tells them all about the behavior, the 5 levels of respect. It tells them how they get scored. It tells them everything. So that's the first thing they get in the first day, and then they have to take a test on the book at level 1. That's their 7th goal. They have to take a test on the book to tell us they've read it. Because a lot of times they'll come in and say, can I go do this, such and such? Well, what does your handbook say? They get that answer a lot. What does your handbook say? Counseling, situational counseling, that's like if we're out in public and sitting down to have a meal and somebody's being their manners, we take opportunity to say, okay, this is not how we act in a restaurant, and try to explain and teach. Whenever we have an instance where we have a problem, that's situational counseling. Y'all do it with your own children. It's just when we take the opportunity, when something happens, we take the opportunity that minute to work through it and talk it out and get it straight. We have a young man that grew up in Hollis that's counseling for us now. His name is Chase Thompson. He's been with us 2 years. He has started group counseling this last week, and it's going really well. And then our house parents will do what we call cottage meetings, which is kind of a counseling session that they do. They go over, they give the boys the opportunity to say, well, this is your time to say if somebody's really bothering you and what we need, and see what we need to do to fix that and that kind of stuff. And then Chase does counseling with all our boys, at least an hour a week, depending on the boy. He has some that he meets with once a month. That's all they need. He has some that he meets with every other week. And then we have some that he meets once a week, twice a week, depending on the situation. And then psychological evaluations and testings. We require psychological to get a young man into the program, which kind of gives us an idea where he's at in his mind. And then we do other testing to test the level of trauma they've had in their life and where they feel they're at. And then we do that periodically because that tells us if what we're doing is working. So we test every 6 months. We bring a young man in, we test him. And usually the test tells us if we're making progress. If we're not, then we step back and reevaluate what we're doing with him. Maybe we're not catching something we need to catch. Educational, we have an accelerated learning lab in our school, in our office. The school put it in our office, and they hired a teacher to run it for us. Our guys it's not a tutoring program. We can take a young man that is struggling and take him all the way back to first grade and start over and carry him all the way through, self-paced. And we have one young man that was failing algebra just about every year. In the last 2 years, he's got C's in algebra, which has been an accomplishment for him. And it's due to the accelerated learning. And Study Island is another one that the school provides. It's a computer-based program, and it's for the guys that are doing a little better in school. It kind of gives them, if they got a problem area, we can focus on that. They do some studying on it, do a little test. If they do well on the test, they get to play a little game that's based to the test, and then they go on to the next one. And then IEPs, we put those together for most of our guys have an IEP at school to kind of get them caught up because most of them are behind. And then we look at what they're going to do for their future. Are they going to go to VOTEC? Are they going to go to the military? Are they going to go to college? Or whatever. We try to work on that. Our livestock program is one we use. A lot of people do this because it's something the family can do together, and we use it as an opportunity to teach life skills. If you can care for an animal and love an animal and nurture an animal and raise an animal, you're going to learn skills to how to be able to raise your own family and be able to connect with other people. And that's what we use that for. Tony I work along with Tony, but Tony's our day-to-day guy in the hog program. And he takes them guys out, they walk hogs, and he gets them into that hog walking, and then next thing you know, they're spilling their guts, and we're finding out things that we didn't know about. So we can find areas that we need to work on. They'll talk about things when their mind's occupied taking care of the animal. Sometimes they'll turn loose of stuff that we need to know about. And it's the same way with the calf program. Doug runs the calf program. We've had the calf program going for about 10 years. The last 3 years, we've walked away with grand and reserve grand steer and heifer in our county. So it's really a strong program. But those guys learn a lot of life skills. And they learn to communicate, and they tell us a lot of things. We do a lot of social activities, birthday parties for the boys. We have the youth group over at our campus and have meals and devotionals. We do some kayaking for some fun. And those are recreational times that we can interact with them and teach them how to have a good time and have fun. Some of you'd be amazed how many guys don't know how to have good, clean fun. Spiritual, we do leadership training for Christ. We've been doing that this will be our 13th year. We've had guys that have excelled in it. We have a lot of golds and silvers. They do gold, silver, and bronze. Most of our guys, we try to get every one of them to do Bible reading. And then we do puppets, we do song leading, we do preaching, speeches. They've all been involved in that. And then we're involved in our devotional activities at church, and which we do quite a bit of stuff. Last summer, we sent two of our young men to Honduras with Jason. Jason he went the year before last, and then to kind of get a feel for what they're doing over there, and then he took two of our boys over last year. Those guys really learned a lot over there. And We're looking at maybe sending 2 more this summer to Honduras with the church. The children's church where we go to church at now they make 2 trips a year. They make one in the summer, and then they make one about 3 weeks before Christmas. They just got back from Honduras. Our transitional program is one of the things that we do now. It's been in place, but that was one of the duties that I did when I first came in, was to help develop that program. The transitional program is for our junior and senior boys. We bring them into transition. It's a very unstructured program. They have to make a lot of their own decisions. They have to come to us and say, hey, I need to work on my FAFSA and schedule things and take care of a lot of their stuff. That's when they get a car. They can have their own car, and we start teaching vehicle maintenance, really more hands-on vehicle maintenance. They have to have a job, and we coach them through how to keep a job and how to handle a job. Tony runs this program now. My wife and I did it, and we found out that a couple's not a good fit for it. I was being the stern mentor guy, and Adrian behind me was being the loving mama, and it was kind of conflicting a little bit. So some of the consequences weren't as severe because mama kind of softened them up a little bit. So we brought in a single guy, and it's been a really good idea. He is kind of a roommate, and he's their guide and mentor, and he sits down and he says, okay, these are the things you need to work on. When you're ready to work on them, come talk to me, and we'll start working on it. Schedule some stuff. And so it's been good. We do the Ansels KC life skills test with them that tells us where they are. We're actually pulling that down into our behavior management program, and that's going to be one of the first tests we take. And we're going to develop our program around life skills a little more, so we can have them a little more prepared to be in transition. And when they move into transition, we expect them to be able to make their bed. We expect them to be able to clean the bathroom without having to be told or asked to. So those are the kind of things, because college dorms get expensive if you don't take care of your room. Our work program is one we do during the summer. We have a south and north campus, so they're 13 miles apart. So we decided to split the work program and have a crew on one end and a crew on the other end. Doug and Tony run these programs. These guys have to fill out an application. They have to give references on their application other than their house parents. They have to give somebody else. And then they have to go through the interview process. Every boy on campus put in an application. Every boy on campus did an interview, and only 9 made it. And at that time we had 19 on campus. Well, some of them didn't fill their application out right, so when they had their interview, they got coached on how to fill it out correctly and try again next summer. And then some of them did an interview well. So it's the way we're trying to teach them how to go out and find a job and maintain a job. They go to work. They work 40 hours a week for 9 weeks. They can make up to $1,800 to put in their account. Half that goes in their savings. And if they show up for late work, they work late, they go home. They don't work that day. If they do it a second time, they lose their job. So it's like the real world. We try to be as much like the real world with it as we can. We do a lot of fun stuff. Doug is a guitar player, so we've got some guys that's taking some guitar lessons. I'm bringing a young man in that is coming in January that plays the banjo, the mandolin, plays like 4 stringed instruments, so he's going to really fit into some of this stuff. Denise does ceramics with the guys during the summer, and when it comes time for the 4-H fair in September, she enters all that stuff in for them so they can. And usually we have first, second, and third place, and we've got several first at state. We have 15 boys in care right now. We'll have 17 in January. I've got 2 young men coming in January. We help an average of 34 boys a year, and we assist in placing kids in other places. When we get a psychological and review the psychological, that tells us some things that tells us if our program works for them. We want them to fit the program to fit their needs. If they don't, we don't want to bring them in and do more harm. So we look at the psychological, and if they're not a fit for us, then I get on the computer and I start calling some people, and I find a place that's a better fit. And I start with church-based homes. Church of Christ-based homes is where I start at. There's not very many Church of Christ homes that are treatment level. But I find the best to fit their needs. We have one young man that's been in another program in Oklahoma City for 3 months now. I've got house parents that are driving up there twice a month to do family counseling with him because we're going to bring him back. But he had an issue that we couldn't fix, that we weren't capable of handling. So we put him in a program that helped him. He had an anger management issue, more severe than what we normally can handle. So we've got him in a program to teach him how to manage that, and then we're going to come bring him back, and we're going to work on the rest of it. And they travel up there to Oklahoma City twice a month to do that. These are our 3 graduates last year. The first one's Kevin. He went to Honduras last summer. He is in, and the next one's Kenny, and then Johnny. Kevin and Kenny went into a program in Altus called Southwestern Youth Services On Track program. It is a state-funded program. It's not a religious-based program. But they had things that we didn't have. They had a place where they could stay on campus because we couldn't get them dorms. They're both going to WSC and Altus. It's too expensive for them to drive back and forth. So what we did is we partnered with this program, and I'm the chairman of the committee that oversees the On Track program. So I'm hands-on what these guys are doing, and I know everything that's going on in their lives and what they're doing for them. They're teaching life skills. Both these guys go to church regularly on their own, chose to. They've had some ups and downs, but they're doing very well in the program. Kevin has had a lot of ups and downs, but Kenny has went to CNA class. He's a CNA for the Jackson County Memorial Hospital. He works 3 jobs and goes to college. 2 jobs on campus, and then he works the ER from 3 to 3 in the morning. Jonathan, he decided we weren't what he needed, and so we're dabbling with his life a little bit in the background. But he has had to find out some things on his own that he was not willing to let us help him. But he will be coming back into the program these other 2 in, and I'll have a little more involvement in his life, and we'll start working getting him back on track. We have one young man that's a defensive lineman for Harding University. He's a junior. This young man is Romus. Romus was in the home for 10 years, and he graduated. I think it's taken him 4 years to get to his junior year. He struggled his freshman year. But the Bisons did pretty good this year, but he is doing very well. He's doing his education-based he's going to get a minor in Bible and a major in kinesiology and a minor in health. He's going to be a health teacher and coach is his plan. The other young man is Michael Bethel. He was one that, he's one of the first. These guys were the first in the transitional program, first couple of guys in it. Michael chose in the middle of his senior year. He turned 18. He made some poor choices. We come down and started handing out some of those natural consequences. Said, I've had enough of this. And he left. Went to Montana and really got natural consequences. He lived on the streets for 6 months in Montana in the winter. And he called us and said, can I come back home? And I said, sure. We brought him back into our transitional program. If we hadn't had the transitional program, we couldn't have helped this young man. Because it's a program that's not governed by the state because we can have 18-year-olds in it. So he came back, redid his senior year, graduated, and chose to go into the Marine Corps. He's in Afghanistan serving right now. These are the guys we have on campus right now, Marcus and Tyler, Edgar and Eric, Anthony and Calvin, Kesley and Ethan, Khalil and Seth. Seth is our newest one. Stephen and DJ. These are our calf guys. These 4 guys have calves. Shay and Zachary. And Okima is our TOP guy. He's our senior, the only senior we have this year. And that's the guys we have on campus right now. See that you do not look down on one of these little ones, for I tell you that there are angels in heaven, always see the face of my Father in heaven. What do you think? If a man owns 100 sheep and one of them wanders away, will he not leave the 99 on the hills and go to look for the one that wandered off? And if he finds it, I tell you the truth, he is happier about that one sheep than about the 99 that did not wander off. In the same way, the Father in heaven is not willing that any of those little ones should be lost. I read that verse because that's what we do. We go out and find that one and bring them in. And there's a lot of ones out there. And yeah, our numbers are down right now because there's some of those ones we can't help, and it breaks my heart because we don't have the skill set to take care of some of that. But we do what we can to get them in a place they can get help. But, I had the question posed to me in my home church. I went to my home church and talked about what I do. And they asked me this question: what percentage of your young men leave the home and stay consistent in the church? I can't tell you that because they don't always do. Tony Chitwood left the home at 19 years of age, went into the world, lived the world. He was fixing to get married when he realized everything that he was ever taught at the home, turned his life around, and got back on track. That was 10 years later. So sometimes it takes a while to get it planted, but I can guarantee you we plant the seed on a daily basis in the way we live, the way we treat them, in the way we talk, and how we love them. But I just wanted to show you what we do because it takes a whole lot more than just loving a child that comes from the places that we deal with. It takes a lot of experience, a lot of patience, and our staff has to go through lots of training and lots of heartache to do this. Thank y'all for letting me come, and I'll turn it back over to Sean.